Welcome to the channel, y'all. Morals Over Money. Appreciate you guys for coming through. So anybody that's new to the channel, I have people on here and allow them to tell their stories. The people that are forgotten and looked down upon and shunned by society, drug addicts, people that have been in jail, homeless people, people suffering from mental illness. I like for them to tell their story and give them a voice, right? And hopefully through that, we learn to love each other a little bit more, or at least see things from a different perspective. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that. I appreciate you. I thank you. Stay blessed.
A major drug trafficking operation has netted more than 24 arrests, and it removed millions of dollars worth of narcotics off the streets. Authorities say this potentially saved lives.
All right, so today I'm bringing you a story out of Delaware. Delaware, right there next to Philly. It's very common for people in Philly to do business in Delaware and vice versa. Nothing new. So this happened September 21st, 2020.
Major drug organization. Today, Delaware State Police and the FBI announced more than 24 arrests in connection with a crackdown on a drug organization operating in the state. These 28 defendants are now charged with 252 felonies, including criminal racketeering, conspiracy, drug dealing, and more.
Biggest drug bust in the history of Delaware, and one of the biggest in fentanyl that I've ever heard of. You know, they say it's $5 million worth of drugs were seized, drugs and cash. They, seized some cars and some properties and stuff like that too. So this brother was, the operation he had running was serious. This ain't no petty little thing. This is a big deal here. The operation was titled No Mas. All right, in Spanish, that means no more. So the brother that they say allegedly was heading this whole thing up, his name was Luis Renteria, and 27 other people were arrested. So this was a big thing. Basically, Luis, they said that he delegated all his stuff to his basically partner, which would in turn be like his manager, Jose Perez Rosa. They said he faces 30 years.
Officials said the Renteria organization carried out a great deal of violence. Multiple weapons were also recovered. Renteria now faces up to 30 years in prison if convicted. This investigation is ongoing, but officials said today this effectively amounts to the dismantling of this major drug organization that terrorized the city of Wilmington. And Brian, officials said today this was enough fentanyl to kill 3/4 of Delaware's population.
They got both of them, 27 other people. Notice when this type of stuff goes on, there's people that get bunched in with somebody else's indictment that, listen, they wasn't getting no money. They were basically selling drugs to feed their habit, right? So I have a guy that I used to be cool with. His name is Chino, Antonio Morales, this happened to him. There were some guys getting some money, and he ended up buying drugs off of them to use for himself, and ended up paying the price. He went to jail, I think, for like 8 or 9 years behind that. So, there's people that are on the bottom, of the chain of command or totem pole per se, that are gonna get some heavy duty time out of this. That were, they weren't receiving all the benefits, right? People always say, selling drugs doesn't pay. Crime doesn't pay. We all heard that slogan before many times, right? This is one of these instances where the top guy, he might have made, his hands probably touched millions of dollars, so he was living a fast life, cars, women, power, all that stuff that comes with the money. You know what I mean? Luxurious car, luxurious home, stuff like that. Now, the people at the bottom of the totem pole, they're going to have to do, damn near the same amount of time as the other guy, unless they flip and tell. And they weren't receiving those type of benefits, So there's people that's going to get that same amount of time as the brother who was getting all the money and really didn't get to enjoy the spoils, let's say, right? When they say crime don't pay, believe me, crime don't pay. They confiscated 20 guns, right? That's a lot of guns. Not only is a lot of guns, but the type of guns that they confiscated. As you see in the news clip, one of the guns is a P90. You know, that's an assault rifle. Ammunition, rifles, 5 cars, right? And more than $264,000 in cash. That was over 31 search warrants. So I guarantee you the majority of that cash came from, you know, the top 3 or 4 guys. While the other people don't have a job, living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, they just threw away their life. You know, they probably joined the guy in the middle while the feds already had an investigation. 2 years. They didn't say how they got put on them or anything like that. They just said that they're investigating for over 2 years. Let me put this in context as to just how much fentanyl was seized from this place. And it's gonna be it's gonna be crazy. And I promise you that with this much fentanyl, with this much drugs, he was selling drugs in different cities. He wasn't staying in Delaware. They said he had properties and stash houses in Philly. I guarantee you that there was a lot of this drugs was seeing the Philly market. If he had property and stash houses in Philly, I guarantee you it's just, you know, it's a no-brainer to say that it wasn't. They said out of his house, they seized $180,000, $179,751 from his house. So they say that 1/1000th of a gram is enough to kill a person. Now, if you put that in perspective, let's just say a sugar packet, right? You see how much is in a sugar packet? Now, divide that sugar packet into like 20. And that's probably about how much that it would take to kill somebody. So just think about that. And they see kilos of that. A kilo is 2.6 pounds, you know, so that's a lot. That's significant, definitely significant. So they said also that it was basically enough. The drugs they seized was enough to kill 75% of the state of Delaware's population. Think about that for a second. 75%. So that means 3 in 4 people would be dead. The drugs that they confiscated from him. That's crazy when you think about it like that. 75% of a state's population. You know, that's like war numbers. You know what I mean? Makes me think of to kill 75. You know, it was enough fentanyl to kill 750,000 people. 750,000 people. That's a lot. That's a lot. You know, and as we all know, fentanyl is the new heroin. It's overtaken and surpassed heroin as the #1 killer amongst drug addicts. He was also doing business in California, Pennsylvania, and Florida. The man was from Delaware once again. So that just shows you the outreach of his organization. Now, for somebody to be moving that type of weight, they have to be dug in with somebody. That type of weight isn't easy to come by, right? And you also have to think, with that much amount of drugs and that much weight, there also comes a lot of violence with that, right? So they said there was another homicide in which somebody owed him money and they were killed, that he's being investigated against. They said charges will be forthcoming. Best believe once they get these people locked up, people are going to start telling. You know, there's going to be some of those people that got locked up that he had doing his dirty work. He had making trips for him to pick up drugs, to drop drugs off, to stash drugs, to clean his money up. Because when you're getting that type of money, you need to get clean money. Drug money is really no good. You have to have some way to clean it. Good to spend and buy sneakers and stuff. Now you're talking about buying homes and buying businesses, vehicles and stuff like that. You have to be able to clean your money. You have to show where that money came from. Once again, the brother faces 30 years in prison. Is that excessive? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think 30 years is too much for drug? Or do you think 30 years isn't enough for what he's done? Let me know. I'm interested to see what you guys think. Me personally, I think 30 years is a long time when you think about it. But also think how many lives he destroyed, how many communities he destroyed, right? So am I to say that 30 years is too much for him? I don't know. You know, I don't know. I would have to take into account prior record. Does he have a prior record? All that type of stuff. We have to think about all that when somebody gets sentenced. You know, I can guarantee you he's charged with the RICO Act. The RICO Act stands for Racketeering, Influence, Corrupt Organization Act. This was originally put in place for the mafia. That's how they started taking the mafia down back in the 80s and the 90s. That's why it was put in place. And they started using this for cartel people. Some examples of people that received, the RICO Act would be John Gotti, Big Meech, Freeway Ricky Ross. It's a big organization, and they give this to people. There has to be drugs, there has to be violence, all that type of stuff going on. I promise you he's gonna face some serious time in jail. I'd be surprised just with these charges if he does anything under 20. He's young, coming out in your mid-50s. That's a big chunk of your life law. It's hard to bounce back from that. Let me know in the comments if you think 30 years is too excessive or you think he should get more. Let me know what you guys think. Renteria, Luis Renteria, Luis Renteria. I had to pull out my Spanish accent right there, right? I don't know if I did too good though. Anyway, these people, man, dropped my phone. See, I'm gonna leave this shit in here too. I could edit it because I got some notes on my phone for this, but I'm gonna leave it in here. Just don't grind me up too hard. It's cool. And I don't keep a case on mine. You know what I'm saying? So, stands for racketeering. Let me see. So the RICO Act stands for racketeer. RICO Act stands for racketeer, influenced, corrupt, or all right. Luis Renteria is his name. Luis, all right. $179,000 and how the fuck you expect me to let that shit slide, man? For real. He knew that was all I had, man. He knew. How the fuck you expect me to let that chill? He knew, man.